Good morning, everyone. It's Saturday, which means it's time for yet another Salty Saturday show. I am your host, Mr. Kadish, the man who is currently suffering from the plague. So if I don't sound like my normal chipper self, it's because I am on death's doorstep. But the show must go on, and I am very happy to introduce my fantastic panel of nerds, starting with Dutch Butters himself. How you doing, Dutch?
Hi, man. You sound throat's a little deeper today, a little sexy. You're a little less George Lucas-y today, so I kind of like it. I kind of like it when you're sick and don't feel good, But I do hope you start feeling better very soon. I'm not ready to go. You sent the topics out yesterday while I'm at work, so I haven't had a time to really get into it. But I kind of glanced at them, so I'm a little bit more prepared, I think, than normally that I am. But yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, you normally don't even glance.
No, not at all. So it's like, what are we talking about today? Oh, more of that same crap. Probably Star Wars and Star Trek, and probably a little Doctor Who thrown in, right? And woke this, woke that. Zendaya rules, and
how dare you?
And Snow White sucks. That's what did I cover it? Is that what we're doing?
No, you said Zendaya rules. That's wrong.
Rachel Zegler sucks, not Snow White.
Okay, well, yeah, that's right. All right, let's go. Let's do it.
All right. And he's here. He's queer. He's our shield against all things intersectional and woke. Brian from the Popcast. How you doing, Brian?
Not bad, man. How you been?
On death's doorstep.
Well, hang in there.
Don't want to be here. Yeah.
I'll get you some chicken soup later. Come over and rub
what's
your feet.
going on with you and the Brain Show today?
We had to turn off the show today. Shane's computer took a dive. He sat down, turned it on. He heard a loud noise, and then smoke came out from behind his computer. Nice. He called me at 2:00 in the morning. He's like, I don't know what's going on. I'm like, neither do I. So I'm not there. And the next morning, he took it to Best Buy. You know how Best Buy is. We'll get to it in a couple days. It's been 3
Geek
days.
Squad?
Yeah, big Geek Squad.
Yeah.
If he was close to me, I could have just fixed it for him, but he's not very close to me. So
you and Shane are the only people I know of where their computers actually explode.
It's because I built them.
Never heard of that before.
Quick story. You guys know I work in the casinos, right? For the first time in my 30-year career, we got a phone call and we have a video of a slot machine on the casino floor erupting with smoke. I've never have seen it before. They had to open up the front of the slot machine and just smoke just came billowing out. Never in my life had I seen something like that. No flames, just I think there was probably a wire got crossed or something, but it was really super weird. But
maybe Brian built that slot machine.
Maybe Brian built the slot machine. Yeah. So
yeah, that's accurate.
All right. And the king of the pineapple pizza, the Lord of the Shelves, OMB Reviews is here with us today. How you doing, Odin?
Every day a little bit better. I was sick a couple weeks ago and it lingered on for a bit longer. I think I may have gotten hit by some allergies this past week especially, so that hasn't helped with the breathing and the coughing. But otherwise I'm here, doing great, and excited to see these box office flops continue to roll along.
Did you guys talk about that on FNT at all?
We did. We talked all about the Captain America box office and the forthcoming Snow White box office as well. So it should be a good time. Sad for the theaters, obviously, but it's nice when these major studios fail like that.
Especially when they do it, on purpose. They don't learn their lessons.
Mm-hmm.
But ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce the man, the myth, the legend, one of our favorite YouTubers on YouTube currently, Smitty from Smitty's Snippets. How you doing, Smitty?
Doing pretty good. Sorry you're sick, but I am glad to be back. So good to see you all.
Well, guys, in case you don't know, we've discovered Smitty back when we were doing our Invasion reviews, and he was the only other person paying attention to that show, and his reviews were hella fun. We have a link to his YouTube channel in the chat and in the description. Highly, highly recommend you go subscribe to him. He does great work. In fact, the only critique I have of Smitty right now is that he's reviewing too many good shows. Smitty, you're at your best when you're reviewing bad shows. Why aren't you reviewing bad shows?
I try to be well-rounded, but, I think you're right. I'm just going to go back to crapping on shows. See how it's working out better.
Get back to that.
It's way more fun.
Okay.
100%.
I mean, you can only talk about great shows like From and Severance and all that stuff for so long, where people are just like, yeah, it's a good show. I don't care about your take on it.
It's true. I thought people hated it. A couple people were like, you hate everything. So I was like, well, maybe I need to lighten up. But I think you're right.
Well, Odin, if Gary and Critical Drinker have taught us anything, it's that if you're going to make it in this industry, you have to be critical about the stuff that deserves the criticism.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
It's very true.
It's true.
Well, you know who we're not critical of, guys, is our leaderboard. We still got Made You Say Butts for $300 as our top super chatter. Still got Scotty Dub taking up second place for $200. We got our most consistent donator, Mexican Iron Man, although he did not donate last Saturday. I don't know if you guys noticed that. No Mexican Iron Man to be found.
No.
Man.
But you know who was to be found was the queen of gifted memberships, Jillian H., Eric Winberg as well, and Major Chai Chai. They are our biggest gifters, so we appreciate those guys, as you can imagine. Real quick, want to give a big shout out to Eric Winberg, who's already donated his obligatory one Salty Nerd podcast membership of the show. Thank you so much, Eric. Followed up by Major Chai Chai for another 5 Salty Nerd gifted podcast memberships. Thank you so much. And of course, friend of the show, John Yulden, for £5 or £4.99.
Johnny,
want to do it? John says, "Have a great show, guys. Like and subscribe to this great channel and Salty Nerd Gaming. Thumbs up."
Yeah, nice. Thank you, John.
Yeah, we got. In fact, Mr. Butters was just waxing philosophical about how hard it's been to grow the gaming channel lately. So we need all the support we can get over there.
We're about 200 people from 5,000 subs, guys. So if you haven't subbed to the channel over there, go help us out and help us get to that 5,000 mile marker.
time for some Dota, bro. Time to play some Dota.
Let's do it.
Yeah, need to hit that 5,000 marker. And also, Smitty has worked very hard to get to that 1,500 subscriber point. We need to get him up to the 2,000. So show him some love as well. Don't forget good old Smitty over there. Mephisto's movie reviews for 15. I don't know what Israeli money is. Is it krones or
shekels?
Something like that? Shekels. For 15 shekels. The Real McCoy will be live today, but an hour later, because we still haven't switched over to daylight. But we are covering Zack Snyder's Watchmen. Very interesting.
Fun.
Ooh, fun.
And we got Kink in the Armor for $1.99. Update. My book, The Air, is turning to 400 pages. Now, I'm sure if I did that with the appropriate accent, it would have been much funnier, but I'm too sick to go full Phantom Menace on that one. Then we got Jillian H., artist formerly known as Jillian N., gifted 5 Salty Nerd podcast memberships. Thank you so much, Jillian. Appreciate that. So, guys, just want to let you know that upon Dutch Butter's decree, we're trying to get 15 new members during the course of this live stream. Now, we've got 11 so far.
I'm going to change it to
4 more.
40 a week.
Woo! Four more. And also, we're trying to get to 25,000 subs on this channel. So if you like what you see, be sure to subscribe. And if you don't like what you see, ask other people to subscribe in your place. That's how we do things here. Also, Salty Nerd Discord. Join our Discord community. Mr. Butters, you want to tell everyone about that real quick?
Oh, man, you always ask me the Discord. Lots of fun people coming in and talking about all of our fun games and our videos and movies and stuff. It's a really good community, guys. I don't know how else we'll hype it up, but it's growing like crazy. I think we're getting close to 1,300 people over there, and it's just a good time. And it's mostly video games right now, but we do have our Salty Nerd reviewer people over there as well that like to talk about movies and things. And that's all I can say. It's a great Discord community. So come join us. saltynerddiscord.com.
And we already heard from Mephisto, but we want to let you all know that we're going to be redirecting you over to his channel once this episode is over. He's got the Real McCoy podcast going on, so we want to give him the support specifically because there is no Brain show today. Brian and Shane are taking the day off because of technical difficulties.
Yeah.
However, Brian has specifically said that if the Epstein files are dropped, he's gonna say fuck it, we're going live, and we're just gonna go solo.
Yeah, I'm going solo if those are right. Matt will join me. People will join me. I know. I'll send out. I'll blow the horn, and we'll do what we gotta do. Epstein files.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Yes. The lighthouses of Gondor have been lit.
Every YouTube channel that is able to go live will go live the minute that hits. It's gonna be crazy. Send the clip to jail. Let's go. Yeah. Anyway.
All right, guys. So let's get to our first topic of the day, and that is that Jack Reacher, season 3 has topped the Amazon Prime most watched charts. In fact, it's become Prime Video's most watched returning season ever, with 54.6 million viewers after about 20 days.
Ooh.
Yeah, here, check out this article that I have not pulled up yet. Sorry, guys. Being sick really throws you off. Here, let me call this up real quick. Share. There we go.
Make sure you smash the like button if you haven't done so already.
Yeah,
smash
haven't done
it.
so already.
Smash
All
the
right, guys.
like button.
Professional
So-
operation we got going on.
Yeah. So this comes from The Wrap, and basically, I don't know if you guys have watched the previous 2 seasons of Reacher. They've been very, very good, much better than the movies, and way better than the books, in my opinion, because I hate the books. But season 3 just dropped about 20 days ago, and it has already broken records over there. In fact, it has outperformed Fallout, I believe. Basically, Reacher season 3 is the most watched returning season ever on Amazon's Prime Video, drawing a total of 54.6 million viewers globally. In addition to being the most watched returning season for a Prime Video show, Reacher season 3 is also the most watched season on the service since Fallout season 1 for the 19-day period. And what's interesting about this, to me anyway, is that this is a show that many people just kind of like wrote off, right? It's just like, oh, it's toxic masculinity, or like whatever the case may be. But audiences seem to really, really respond to this, especially like overseas audiences, because basically over half of this show's audience is based internationally, with outsized performance in the UK, which Lee Childs is, a Brit, but also Germany and Brazil, which I thought was kind of interesting. But the big news here is basically that you have a show about like a typical 80s action hero, essentially, killing it in the ratings. So I want to start with our numbers guy, Odin, on this. Odin, what's your take on the fact that Reacher season 3 is just dominating the Amazon charts right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's not too surprising because, unlike some of the other shows that have come out more recently, Reacher has been able to build its audience over time. And it's also one of those examples of a show that has actually not only pleased the audience that started watching it from the very beginning, but has continued to please and bring in new audience members as the seasons have gone on. And so as you do that, it starts to have this, kind of snowballing effect. And though I wouldn't say that Reacher is by any means at the same level as like what a Game of Thrones was, or any of those other like massive shows, like from Amazon, I do think that it is absolutely like one of their most, if not one of their more successful shows. And it really just, again, is indicated here by the numbers as we're seeing them. So you add that on with the way that they typically will market their shows, right? As soon as their show's series debuts, typically they will put, promotional material for it on their website and all those other things. And whereas for this one, from what I've heard, it hasn't been as maybe aggressive as like Wheel of Time's promotion has been on the site. It is still very clear that the audience that they've been able to build is happy, is seeking it out, and is continuing to watch it and to share it. And so again, kudos to them for actually having a good show. And the fact that they're able to do that despite the fact that the main actor has said some really dumb things is pretty amazing too.
Yeah, what's interesting about a show like Reacher is that its budget is very small compared to something like Wheel of Time, which requires like a lot of special effects, and a lot of these like big budget, like Russo brothers shows and movies and stuff like that. It's actually a very modestly budgeted, show that brings in a lot of eyeballs. But Alan Richardson, the guy who plays Reacher, has been kind of more vocal lately about like his political leanings and stuff like that, which is, I feel like, hurt the brand slightly. What do you think about that, Dutch Butters?
I definitely think he's hurt the brand. You know, first off, the entire theme of today's show should just be simply shows that Dutch Butter hasn't watched yet. That's what the theme should be. But I did actually watch the first couple episodes of season 1 of Reacher, and I thought it was a really good, fun show. And for some reason, it fell off my radar, and I haven't been able to watch it. But I was going to try to get it picked back up, and then Richardson spouted off on Twitter and got all political and stuff, and I'm like, I guess kind of compartmentalize it into the back of my head. It is a show I'll pick up some other time when I care less about people and their politics. So he kind of Luke Skywalker, he kind of screwed up the franchise because he spouted off, and just like all these actors do when they get political and start talking stuff that they shouldn't be talking about on social media, then I get very disinterested in what they're in. So I don't want to support them, is basically what it boils down to. And despite the fact that I know the show is probably really good, because everybody I've talked to that has seen it has really loved the show, I just have had very little interest. So I'll probably pick it up some other time. So, but for right now, it's just not on my radar. So I guess.
Well, Brian, what kind of like Odin brought up about the show finding its audience, part of the big appeal of it was that the first 2 seasons, there was like no wokeness whatsoever. It was just a straight up like action thriller style story. Right. There was no preachiness. There was no DEI. It was just a straightforward good story. And then Alan Richardson comes out and he's like, starts attacking people who don't have the same political beliefs as him. And I feel like it has hurt the brand. I feel like, even though like we're talking about 54.6 million viewers in 20 days for like the new season, it's like, well, that could have been, I don't know, 60 million or 70 million if he hadn't spouted off his mouth. What's your take on that?
No, you're probably right. Like I've said before, I don't think normies are in tune with a lot of stuff like stars are saying, politics and all that, as we are. So, we expected it to hurt numbers, but most normies are just like my dad. Yeah. He's not on Twitter. He's not on Facebook. He just sees Reacher on Amazon. He's like, hell yeah. And he doesn't know the difference, nor does he care. And to be fair, we've always told actors to just shut up and act. And I'm not seeing anything woke in this new series. Like it's the reason it's doing well is probably because it's pretty much following the same format that Reacher's been following the entire time. In fact, it's pretty damn good. Quick point though. Next time you watch it, notice one thing. The Reacher walks, for some reason he walks like an NPC in a video game. Like, I don't know if you ever noticed that, but like if you ever played like Grand Theft Auto, any of the Grand Theft Autos, the way they walk, watch him walk down the street. Like, I think in the 3rd episode, he gets naked because he gets naked all the time. And he's like walking down the street with his giant bulging back muscles, but he walks like he's being controlled by a character externally. And I'm not sure if that's just the way.
Well, that's because all
Alan
the bulging
muscles
make it so it's harder to be as flexible to walk.
It's hard to be flexible. Yeah. No, but I like the new show. And again, I don't think normies are just paying it. I don't think they're paying attention to what these people are saying.
I have that problem every day trying to walk down the street, with all my bulging.
Yeah. So much muscle. Right? It's hard to even get out of my chair.
It makes it difficult producing things.
Someone in the chat said normies are based, and you're probably right. They're pretty based, but they're also not. I don't think they're paying attention to what these people are saying. So.
Yeah, a lot of them are very ignorant of celebrity, and for good reason too. It's like, well, why should really they care about that, right? It has no real bearing on their life. What some random celebrity has to say about some random political issue that they're not educated on. So it's like, why would they even care? The difficult thing for me, honestly, probably why I haven't really jumped back into the show either, because I haven't started watching season 3, and I've had no real draw or desire to, is probably just because I'm so weirded out by just the look of this guy, Alan Aldershot, because we've been rewatching, my wife and I, because she has never seen Smallville before. So I'm rewatching it with her, and he plays Aquaman in that show, and he's so young, and he's like half the size. And so like I look at him and I'm like, wait a minute, that's the guy that's playing Reacher, and it's like my head does not compute how the person is the same guy. So like for me, I look at him, I'm like, you don't look like that. I've seen what you look like.
I envy you. You get to watch Smallville with someone who's never seen it before.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
She's liking it.
It's great.
Yes. You know who else likes stuff is Smitty. Hey, Smitty, what's your take on Reacher? I know that I think that you've reviewed it on your channel, but why do you think it's finding such success on Amazon?
So I've only just started watching Reacher. I've had a few people on my Discord. They recommended it and said it was a pretty great show. And it is. I understand that, he might have said some things a lot of people didn't agree with. I didn't hear what he said, but the same token, like he's got to have his opinion. And like, if I say something, no one gives a shit, right? Because I'm just Paul, sitting behind a keyboard, right? But he's a public figure, and there's really no
Smitty.
time.
We care what you say.
There's really no time he can say whatever he wants and have it not blow up. Be like, oh, he said he ate chickens, so whatever he says, they could just run with it.
How dare you?
I don't agree with him. He should probably know better if you're going to be a public figure to not come down on some people, or either that, or you just have to take whatever's coming to you. Which is, just fine. You just have to know what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah,
but I like the show personally. I made a mistake watching the show. I thought the show had previously been on CBS, and my wife asked me. She said, "Is this okay if our son watches it?" I was like, "I'm pretty sure. I think it was on CBS." And then all of a sudden, there was some bloody guy hanging from the ceiling with his balls in his mouth, and then I'm just like, "Okay,
yeah."
I'm just look away, son. I'm
Nudity.
sorry.
Blatant nudity.
But yeah, I think it's a fantastic show. So far, I'm only in probably middle of the way through season 1, but it's a decent. That's about it, I guess.
Yeah, I think season 1 and season 3 are the best. So you're gonna enjoy season 3.
I just figured out why he has issues on social media, because, and I don't mean to make fun of this, because I'm not really trying to make fun of it, but according to his wiki page, he is diagnosed with bipolar disorder. So maybe he was just like on a real down point when he went crazy and started talking shit on a.
Totally possible. Remember, these are real people. What if they just take an Ambien one day and all of a sudden they're on their phone tweeting? Yeah.
Well, I'll say,
go ahead.
I'll say this much: his outspokenness directly correlated to the time in which he became an executive producer on the show, as opposed to just an actor. So I think job security probably had a lot to do with him deciding to be a little bit more outspoken. But I would also take issue with Brian, because I actually think season 2 is the best season so far.
I disagree. It's okay. Look, they're all good. But I the whole, like, there's a lot of other people in season 2 that I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, you get introduced to like his whole like former team in season 2,
right.
And so like it was a little bit less about Reacher and more about like the team that he used to run.
Look, bro, I'm bisexual. I just want to see bulging muscles.
Wow.
Well, you are queer, Brian. We'll give you that much.
Strange.
But the most interesting thing about this to me is like this is really Amazon's first like original series that has really kind of like taken off. In my opinion, like, yeah, you had Fallout, but that had like a, kind of like an IP behind it. This one, it's based off of these books, but it seems to be really resonating with Amazon's audience simply because it's like, hey, we have a really masculine dude who's like the hero in this. It's like a, straight white male, with muscles. It kind of reminds me of like the Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone movies from the 80s.
Yeah.
Richardson would have been a great 80s action hero. Sure.
Yeah, but it's so rare to find a show like that nowadays. And that kind of brings me to our next topic. But before we get to that, I want to give a shout out to Hemorrhoid Hertz for his $2 Australian. Okay, what's going on? It's 3:30 a.m. plus Reacher sucks ass. So you heard it right from the Aussie's mouth, right there. So
Hemorrhoid.
Hemorrhoid. But guys, let's talk a little bit about Captain Falcon and it being the lowest grossing Marvel movie to date. This is kind of interesting. So basically, there's this article in Variety here, and in it, they basically say the quiet part out loud where it says, at this rate, Captain America Brave New World will wind up as one of the lowest grossing Marvel movies of all time. Wow. Above the flat out disasters of 2023's The Marvels and 2011's The Incredible Hulk, but in the realm of disappointments like 2021's Eternals and 2023's Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantum Mania. And if you guys remember, there's a lot of spin when this movie came out. Where it was like, oh, it only cost $180 million, and it's set to make $190 million worldwide, so it's going to break even right away, and blah blah blah. And but what was kind of funny, and Brian, I know that you responded to my text about this the other day. Someone leaked it on Hulu for like a day.
Yeah.
and so like you could literally watch Captain America Brave New World for free on Hulu if you're a subscriber, for like a day before they took it down, realized their mistake. But
realized that it was still in theaters, right?
Yeah, that was still in theaters.
That's rough.
So trying to make its money back. But Odin, we have been quite critical about this movie and watching its financials like a hawk, no pun intended, or a falcon, I guess I should say, to kind of guesstimate what the actual budget is, what the actual loss is, and now the industry seems to be admitting that this movie did not do well. So what's your box office take on Captain Falcon Winter World, or whatever it's called?
Yeah, I mean, to these people, I like to say, welcome to the party, pal. I mean, it's where you been? This has been very obviously a flop from the very beginning. And it honestly is amazing that these trades are still running with this clearly fake number of $180 million for the budget. And there's just so much evidence to point to that, Disney is notorious for letting these numbers leak to the trades that are completely off base. We just kind of, to recap, remember, whether it was the Marvels, whether it was really any of the films that they shot in the United Kingdom, all of those films, the report that came out about them was, it cost $200 million, or it cost $220 million, or between that range of 200 and 250. And then when the tax returns inevitably came out, turns out they were off by about $100 million at least every single time. And it's
what's
they actually
million
spent
between friends, bro?
Yeah, just $100 million, right?
No big deal.
It actually spent well over $300 million on all of those films that were shot in the UK, which means that any of the potential losses are now increased quite a bit. And also any of the potential profits are now either done away with completely or reduced by quite a bit as well. So when that $180 million came out, it's okay, you're arguing that this is the cheapest Marvel film that's ever been made, really, up in the modern era. And somehow that is true after all the delays and all of the reshoots and all these other things, which we know to be true, we know to have happened. So even if those things were not known, we would still know that Disney always overspends on their projects every single time. So you take that into account, and then you look at the box office, and yeah, this is going to be bottom 3, bottom 4 box office for MCU of all time. And that's especially when you take into account how ticket prices have changed and the rate of inflation and things of that sort. And that's what drives me crazy, is that you have these other sites like Collider put out this whopper of an article the other day about how it's it's actually about to pass up this other film from the MCU. It's actually going to be one of the highest grossing films in the history of the MCU. It's yeah, that's when you're comparing the domestic from films from over 10 years ago, which are actually valued a lot higher because the value of the dollar was a lot higher back then. And the fact that this movie is likely to not even beat the adjusted total for The Incredible Hulk of 2008 tells you how bad this movie is doing, right? That movie, when you adjust, was a little over $400 million worldwide. This movie is going to struggle to get to $400 million. And if it even does get to that point, it's going to maybe barely cross it and maybe make a little bit of extra. But even then, I mean, this is a movie, because we know this film costs at least bare minimum $300 million to make. I mean, even with that number in there, this film currently sits at $275 million in losses. because they don't get 100% of those box office receipts. They have to also account for the marketing, which is usually about half your budget added on top of their budget. So, $300 million, that would be about $150 million for your marketing. Right? It's typically what they would spend on that film anyway. So about a $450 million spend on this movie, and they're not making much anything on it. Yeah, this film is a massive catastrophic failure. And so the fact that anyone was running with a narrative that this was successful in any way, or that this film was going to do okay or fine, even on that lower budget, this film would still be a $50 million loss, even if you assume that $180 million number was correct, which is just complete nonsense.
Well, you guys
Don't
know what's
sugarcoat it, Odin.
Yeah,
you guys know what isn't a catastrophic loss is Tom Connors Jr. from Midnight's Edge, who's finally finished eating his cereal long enough to join us, grace us with his presence. How you doing, Tom?
I don't watch no Reacher. It sounds gay. Like it really sounds gay.
Call it Reach Around.
That's what I'm saying.
That's the sequel series.
Yeah.
That's the spinoff.
You're not even the individual who's getting the reach around. You're the reacher.
Yes. And Tom, if you would delight our viewers in turning your camera on when you talk today,
No,
that would be
I'm a
fantastic.
fucking chode.
That would be fantastic because everyone wants to see.
I
your
have
beautiful
fat
face.
bald AIDS. Didn't you see X?
I did not see X, no.
Oh, Jesus.
But fat bald AIDS for $1 a month in super chats. You too can fight this terrible, terrible disease.
That's what I saw. Fat bald AIDS. Okay.
Fat bald AIDS, yeah.
No wonder he turns his camera off all the time. Jesus Christ. You can't be worse, uglier than me, dude. I mean, come on. Look at this specimen of beauty right here. And I'm strapped in muscles. I'm the best looking guy on the panel.
He's strapping.
Easily.
Well,
yes.
I'd like to hear Tom's take on Captain Falcon, Winter World Soldier, Eternal Person.
Brave.
Eternal Soldier.
Brave. Yeah.
Well, what I thought was funny is that it leaked online like a week and a half ago or so. Like it's been out forever. And the fact that it accidentally got dropped on Hulu. What the fuck?
Yeah. What do you have to say about it being one of the lowest grossing Marvel movies ever, considering how much money they pumped into this thing?
I mean, was anybody here expecting it to do really well?
I was expecting it to be $1 billion movie.
I just want to know,
I'm kidding.
was he ever able to get his loan? That's the only thing I want to know.
Yeah. Poor bastard.
No.
Wasn't
he has
able
to
to
pay
get a
for a
loan.
bunch of damage in this movie. And this is why he can't get a loan.
They're like, we can't insure you. You've done
box
trillions
office
of dollars
sucks.
worth of damage, sir.
Your box
he
office sucks.
He blew up like 3 fighter jets while he was like in that movie or something like that.
You know how much you cost us? You're not getting a loan. You need a job.
Yeah, it'd be funny if they filmed like a fake commercial of Anthony Mackie endorsing like some type of credit, like Start credit card or something like that, because that's the only way he can pay his bills.
No,
Or like reverse mortgages.
Yeah,
You too
reverse
can get a
mortgage.
reverse mortgage.
I mean, I wasn't going to be surprised if this made even $300 million, because there's no interest in it, none. And I mean, as far as like, we all knew it was never going to be profitable, and that's why I laughed along with Odin and many others when we're like, okay, we'll play your little game, and we'll go with the 80 million or whatever it is you claim you spent on this thing. Sure, we'll go with that and see how this still plays out and works out for you. That's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it works out, because it didn't. We all knew it was going to land somewhere between the Marvels and Ant-Man. I think Odin and I and everybody else and their mother was saying that. But I even thought it might not do that well, just because Brie Larson is technically a bigger star than Anthony Mackie at the end of the day. So,
Yeah.
Is anybody
I took my
surprised?
wife to see it, and you know what she asked me? She said, "Where was Captain America?" I'm not joking. She watched the entire movie and then asked me why Captain America wasn't in the movie.
Well, Smitty, what kind of surprises me about Captain America: Brave New World is that basically the audience is required to have watched the TV show, Falcon and Winter Soldier, in order to know anything about what's going on in this movie. And then this movie was staged to be like the launch of the next big phase of Marvel. Like they're leading up to like the new Avengers and all this other stuff. And they're also tying up loose ends from like the old Hulk movie that nobody really cares about anymore. And And I know that you did a really fantastic review of this movie on your channel. So what's your take on Marvel's strategy here about, having this big blockbuster movie that is meant to lead into greater things, but people have to have watched like a 6-hour homework assignment before they can understand what's going on. And they also have to have watched the old Hulk movie to know what's going on. Like, what's your take on that?
So I think you hit it on the head. I think there are a lot of things at play here, all of them terrible. You try to connect it to a movie from way back in the day, but you have to. What's going on with Mark Ruffalo's Hulk? I mean, was that involved with this? And then the girlfriend from back, like, there's just so much going on here, and people in their brain are trying to connect the dots. And I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna say the quiet part out loud. Okay, I don't see Anthony Mackie as Captain America. It's not working for me. Okay, I know that it's comic accurate. I know that's what happens. When I see Anthony Mackie daddy.
That's gonna
he's
stick.
just not Captain America to me. I don't see that. He's like someone completely different wearing Captain America's suit. The movie didn't make any sense whatsoever. I sat there and watched that whole thing, and it ended with a Stern talking to. Nobody got dead. Nothing.
Yeah, no
watched
one
all
died.
this just for a don't do it again kind of thing. And then put him in jail. I just none of it is none of it is just connecting with me. There's no seriousness to it, no stakes. No one's dying. We'll just put him in jail till later. We bring him back in a later film.
Yeah, you
It's
can't
just-
kill
I don't
Harrison Ford.
know.
You need that actor.
Yeah, I just
Listen, Harrison
noticed
Ford might not
something.
make it.
He
Okay.
might
Yeah.
not make it. Yeah.
I just noticed something, kind of looking over these things. I remember, I'm gonna set this up real quick. I remember when I was a little kid, I was, a little bit of a normie, but not really. When I was waiting for Star Wars movies to come out, remember the wait between episode 1 and episode 4 and 5 and 5. It was 3 years, and those 3 years between those movies felt like an absolute eternity when you're a kid, when you're 13, 12 years old. And I just looked at this, right? Falcon the Winter Soldier, which is required viewing for this movie, as far as I'm concerned, and everything that was set up before this movie, that was 4 years ago. The Falcon the Winter Soldier, that terrible TV show, came out in March of 2021. Who is going to take the time to go back and rewatch that after we didn't really want to watch it 4 years ago?
Right.
To set up a movie that nobody cares about because Captain America really isn't in it. I don't understand their strategy behind this movie at all. It makes
that's the
no
problem.
sense.
My wife doesn't know anything about any of the politics or anything like that, but she
Yeah.
also is not watching the TV shows. She likes Marvel movies, but she likes Marvel movies. So she had no idea what happened with Bucky or whatever happened in that TV series. And she knew that Steve Rogers was gone, but she didn't know that he automatically became Captain America. She was like, why did that work? She asked the question, why wasn't Bucky Captain America?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. That's
And the other part is this movie is like finishing up, I guess, or whatever. Maybe it's starting, but I think it's kind of finishing up this last phase of the really MCU phase 4 or whatever it was. The MCU phase of Marvel movies, and I think they just want to get this movie out and done with so they can just start up the next phase of Marvel movies. So
Perhaps.
I mean, they couldn't just sit on it. They had to do something with it. But I don't know. I hope they're learning their lesson and they start making some actually entertaining movies going forward. I'm not counting on it, but we'll see, I guess.
Well, Brian, are you at all surprised that this is one of the lowest grossing Marvel movies?
Yeah, I am a little surprised. I expected it to do better, not because it was going to be a better movie, but because it was marketed so heavily. Plus, it has a Hulk in it. Harrison Ford. I did expect it to do better than the Eternals and.
Hey, maybe this is a little bit of a spoilery question, but I don't really care at this point. Is it true that Red Hulk is only in it for like 5 minutes of the entire thing?
5 to 15.
Not even that.
Not even that.
No, he feels like he's in it a lot.
Not really. It's not very much.
It's a big.
You guys got to remember this movie's shorter than most Marvel movies.
Maybe you're right, but it is a big ending. Like, I expected it to be much less time.
It's not even as elaborate as the Hulk fight at the end of the first Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, I would say the sequence is longer, but that doesn't mean that Red Hulk, is actually on the screen during the entirety of that sequence.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
And the other thing is you guys are saying like that it wraps up stuff from the old Incredible Hulk movie.
it does.
I don't even consider those part of the MCU.
No, and that's the problem. Most people don't. And I'm sorry, but Liz Taylor doesn't even look the same anymore. Like, so I didn't even recognize her right away. It's crazy. And there's a different person playing the general.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm not sure
Yes.
why you would want to connect these things when the two characters that would remind you of that movie, one has aged way beyond that movie, you know, and the other one is a completely different person.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Also-
I mean, I like the idea of doing something with that movie because I did like that movie, but like this did not work.
Also, at the end of that movie, it was Iron Man that came into the bar and talked to the general about starting the Avengers initiative. So
Right.
So you just have to pick and choose, I guess, whatever you want to follow.
I mean, yeah, so I guess technically it is part of that movie because there was an end credit scene with Thunderbolt Ross, but most people didn't even see that. Like, it just didn't work. It's a different person playing the character. It's a different person playing the character. I've watched that movie several times, and it took me a second to connect everything. I don't know.
I didn't even know the president was him until halfway through the movie.
Halfway through the movie, that's when I was like, "Oh, what? Why do that?"
Yeah, and I'd be surprised if anyone knew who like the original Black Captain America guy was, if they hadn't seen Falcon and Winter Soldier. And also, if you hadn't seen the Eternals, you didn't know about like the big hand coming up out of the top planet.
And a lot of people didn't watch the Eternals. And I'm sorry, can I add one more thing? They should have. There should have been a sequence in there where you showed him denying the serum, because it wasn't they would mention it briefly, but they didn't make it clear. And a lot of people were like, "Why doesn't he have superpowers?" They should have had more in that movie about him saying why he didn't want it, because there was really no reason as to not take the serum. Just there was no reason for it. And it sets up the whole movie. The whole time now you're like, that would have killed him. Nope, that would have killed him. Oh shit, that would have killed him. That would have killed him. He died like 47 times in that movie.
Yeah. Did he just stab a missile with his wing and live?
Bro. And they didn't make it clear where he got the wings, why they're kinetic. Everything is just like exposition. Like you got to show the audience, dude.
Everything about the entirety of the movie is to build up to the one line that they want everyone to try to remember by the end of the movie, which is Steve Rogers was someone that you could look up to, but you are one that you can aspire to, right? The one that the Bucky line at the very end. It's like, you should be someone that we aspire to, whereas Steve Rogers is the one that to look up to. And it's like, I understand what you're trying to do with that, but it just does not work with what Captain America actually does and needs to be able to do.
Yeah, and also I think to Smitty's point, that's one of the reasons why people aren't resonating with Anthony Mackie as Captain America, is because he's basically like Iron Man. He's more Iron Man than Captain America. Like Captain America was a super soldier. Like he was meant to be like the perfect specimen of what American men are meant to be. And with this one, it's just like, you basically got an Iron Man suit that makes you fly and can cut through metal and stuff like that. It doesn't ring true. I believe Smitty didn't in your review. You basically said, Captain America had a shield. Like that was it.
Yeah, he gets it out. He got it out the mud. He just had the strength. He didn't have all these gadgets and that stupid Robin or whatever that thing is on his back. He was just strong, and he was coming to get you with that shield. That's it. So I think that's the difference between them.
But also, as you pointed out in your review, like there's that scene in Endgame where basically, Captain America is the last one standing. Thanos and his entire army are basically marching towards him. He straps that shield on and he just stands there and he's ready to take on like an entire army by himself if need be, simply because like it's the morally right thing to do.
Right.
And we've yet to see anything like that from Anthony Mackie's character. Like he's had a lot of like lectures and a lot of moralizing and stuff like that. But his actions haven't really shown that, in my opinion. And also, wasn't there something about making the Winter Soldier like a congressman in this movie? Like, didn't he?
Yes.
The Congress?
Yeah, for that 5-minute thing where he's like, I'm sorry. There shouldn't have been any Bucky in this movie. Like, if you're not going to have him help in some way as the only other superhero we know, like, don't even have him in the movie. Doesn't make any sense.
I know a lot of people are still upset that Bucky isn't Captain America, because at least then we could kind of see like, okay, I don't feel like I'm worthy to like, use this shield and like to step into the footsteps of my best friend and stuff like that, especially after all the evil stuff I was forced to do, in the preceding decade or like whatever the case may be. Like, I feel like that would have been a much more interesting kind of like internal struggle to watch, other than, what Anthony Mackie goes through. But
doesn't he
that
get
might
it
just
though?
be...
Eventually, I think.
In the comic books, I think he does.
In the comic books, he does.
But who knows?
Not sure why. Not sure why he didn't do it in here. Doesn't make any sense. He should have just taken the serum. It would have fixed so many problems.
It really would have.
It would have fixed so many problems and would have been way more interesting. I'm not sure where like the virtual signaling here is. What is so wrong with taking the serum that has no side effects and helps you actually do your job as Captain America?
Because that's
also
the connection.
But with the rules that they established in Falcon and Winter Soldier, with that temporary, basically, like I forget what compound it's called, but it basically turns you into a super soldier like for a short period of time, right? So like, let's say Anthony Mackie used that, but then like he runs out of it at a crucial point and he has to just rely on himself to save the day. Like, that would have been kind of like an interesting arc, I guess. But as it stands right now, it's like the minute the Hulk punches that shield, like every bone in his body would break. Every
what if he's like, I don't want to take it. I don't want to take it. I don't want to take it. And this whole thing. But then you have a raging, rampaging Red Hulk. And he's like, F it, give me the serum. Okay, I can see that. Here we go. I'm sacrificing something I think for the greater good. Okay.
Where are the other Avengers and superheroes?
Yeah, where's everyone? I don't.
Where's Thor? I mean, come on. It's like,
I know,
Thor
right?
is in space somewhere.
Can't he get on his like Avengers watch and go, hey guys, we got some issues here. Even if it's like those Russian superheroes that got the movie coming out, somebody's got to come in and help him.
Well, there's actually a superhero in this movie that shows up and talks to him and knows what's going on, and then decides you're good. You got it, buddy.
Where's the West Coast Avengers? Where's She-Hulk?
Well, I mean, first of all, where's Bucky? Second of all, where's the Hulk? Like as far as I know,
literally was in the movie.
We've reached a point in the MCU where there should never be a lack of a superhero or multiples in any part of the world if something crazy is going down, right?
Right, and if there is, you have to explain why.
Where's the Eternals at? Where, are they still trying to dig out the giant celestial out of the Indian Ocean or whatever is going on? Or I don't know.
Actually,
yeah. Where is everybody else?
Oh, can I say one good thing about this movie? Because we've been shitting on it.
Sure, go ahead.
I like that they're using the Eternals kerfuffle to, at least for some good, because they're going to introduce adamantium. That's cool.
Oh, okay. All right.
I like that. It makes the Eternals actually important.
Is
when in
there
reality,
is there like a 5-minute clip that you can like show me out of the movie that will just explain what's going on?
Basically,
so I don't have to watch the thing.
In the Eternals, one of the characters uses her transmutation powers to transmutate the celestial that is bursting out of the planet. By the way, that would have destroyed everything right away.
Everything in the whole
But
world.
it's bursting out, everything in the world. But it's bursting out of the center of the planet, and she uses all of her power, which is God level power, to literally turn the celestial into metal. And at the time they didn't explain what that metal was. In this movie they say it's this new metal called adamantium. Adamantium being what they coat Wolverine's skeleton with, right? Which is rad. Well, so now in some way Eternals is important. In another way Eternals is important, and another way Eternals is important is it actually explains the motivations of Thanos. I did not like the movie Eternals, but I liked that it explained the motivations of Thanos better, to the point where it made Thanos a better villain, where it's almost like he thought he was the good guy trying to save all these planets from, or the universe from, these celestials that were bursting out of the planets. So that's a good thing. And I like the fact that they introduced adamantium. That's a cool thing. And at least they used the crappy movie Eternals to do both those things. So I'll take that.
Okay.
You know what I'll take, Brian? Our super chats. We got Mexican Iron Man for $9.99. I'm late. Clock. Here's my donation. Thank you, Mexican Iron Man. Appreciate it.
Now about last week when you weren't here, we need to have a discussion.
I know, right? The Shadow Ranger for $5. Some Hollywood execs still blame Koof for their failures. Koof is an unalived horse. Anyone who still buys that excuse today has the brain power of Kamala H. Well, I would agree with that.
Well stated, yes.
Culture Casino for $5. Neo-Marxist anti-America was entirely based on that one line, Disney hates America. It is on full display in all of their offerings since Endgame. Can't argue with that either, Culture.
We need to get Culture back on the show. So
we do. Next time Tom doesn't feel like breaking away from his cereal, we'll invite Culture on. All right, guys. So since we're talking about Anthony Mackie, I want to talk a little bit about this thing that's popped up, which is something he said on a podcast about the death of masculinity in America. And this was kind of an interesting interview. Anthony Mackie actually said a lot of like silly stuff in it. But he also said some interesting stuff. So it was kind of like the only problem
I have with it and taking him seriously is he's both actively a part of and profiting from one of the biggest propaganda arms that did this.
Yes.
That's what bothers me about this.
And he kind of skirts over the reasoning behind this, but he also doesn't shy away from calling it out. So let me know if you guys can hear this. I actually want to play this for the audience just so everyone knows what we're talking about here. You hear it? Yes.
No.
Can't hear it? All right. Well, essentially what he says is that for the past 20 years, we've been living through the death of the American male and that they've killed masculinity in our communities. And he kind of talks about the example he sets for his kids and how he teaches them to be men, essentially, and that it's important for men to teach little boys how to be men, because those little boys will then go out and spread that knowledge as well. And he kind of defines masculinity in a very interesting way. He's like, you say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, no, sir, no, ma'am. You watch out for the people who can't take care of themselves. You take care of your mother, you take care of your father, you take care of your siblings, your children, like all this other stuff. It was a very inspiring kind of take that he had in this podcast. And to me, it kind of inspires a bigger talking point and discussion that I want to have with you guys today, because it kind of goes to all the stories that we're going to be talking about on today's show. So first of all, we talked about how Reacher season 3 is just killing it on Amazon. I think a big reason for that is because it's a very masculine show, and people are starved for like masculine heroes and, big buff guys who do the right thing and, like fight the fights that need fighting and all that stuff, like going back to Schwarzenegger and Stallone back in the 80s. Then you have, stuff like the Captain Falcon box office, which, Marvel has been very feminized ever since Endgame, right? And people have lost respect for these movies because of that. And then in our next segment, we're going to be talking about Daredevil, which is actually quite a very masculine show. And people who have bought into Disney's downfall have basically written off anything that comes out on Disney because they feminized everything, and they bought into like the feminist agenda and the removal of masculinity as being quote unquote toxic. So I want to have like a little conversation with you guys about the current state of masculinity in Hollywood and how it's actually affecting the bottom line, and audiences are craving more masculine TV shows and Hollywood's just refusing to give it to them. So Smitty, I want to start with you. What's your take on Anthony Mackie's kind of calling out of the lack of masculinity in Hollywood nowadays and teaching that to the youths?
I mean, I think it's a fair point. I think that has been missing for a lot of people who are looking for that side. Reacher is pretty much the last show that I see that's pretty much like that. I mean, it's simplistic, right? You just have big buff guy beat people up every episode and you move on to the next episode, right? And you don't see a lot of shows like that anymore. So yeah, I would agree with him. I don't necessarily agree saying yes or no, sir, is masculine. It's just respectful. But yeah, I completely 100% agree with what he's saying. It should be more of that for people who to be able to teach boys as well as girls as to how they should act. You know, I don't want to be disrespectful to certain people, but how they should respect one another, I guess is what I meant to say. But yeah, I agree with him 100%.
Why do you think Hollywood is dragging its feet on, making that type of content for, hyper?
Because they don't want to cut off those dollars. They don't want to be like Target or one of those places that getting their legs cut off because they've done the wrong thing. They're just trying to go along with the crowd instead of stand out and make a mistake and cost themselves money, I think. That's what it always
Brian,
comes down to.
I think it's a good point that Hollywood doesn't make movies for men anymore. And that was actually one of my big critiques of what Daily Wire was doing when they started doing like their own movie producing. Was they were doing the same thing that Hollywood was doing with, like female protagonists and all this other stuff, which there's nothing wrong with that. But there seems to be such a gap in the market for movies and TV shows that are just like strictly like masculine. Like they got hot chicks, they got fast cars, they got explosions, and they got like cool dudes running around doing heroic stuff. It feels like there's a huge lack of, I guess you could call it Michael Bay movies or something like that.
Explosions
in Hollywood right now. Yeah,
we need more Rambos and Commandos now, right?
Yeah, exactly. So what's your take on that, Brian?
I mean, I think we do need more of that. I think there's actually a hole in the market, and I think it's obvious when you have shows like Reacher that do well no matter what. Like it's not like Reacher is like amazing writing or some brilliant storyline. It's pretty basic, but it also fulfills, I think, a need that a lot of people have, and just masculine entertainment. They just want to see entertainment. Bad guy gets punched by good guy, and there's nothing political, there's nothing woke, there's no secret messaging, there's no weird agenda. It's just entertaining. I think that a lot of Hollywood has sort of forgotten that entertainment is supposed to be entertaining. And we're not trying to go to a civics class or some kind of like liberal arts, college when we go to the movie theater. We want to go to be entertained. And considering the price of that entertainment, people get upset when they leave and they're like, cool, it's preached out again. And I didn't feel anything about this. There was no primal feeling to this movie or this TV show or whatever. Especially with the cost of TV shows now, because hey, the new cable is streaming, dude. That's the new cable. It used to be where you got Netflix, you're like, that's probably enough. But then everything got so fragmented where you're basically buying channels again. We're at the point where now it's a different kind. instead of channels that you can only watch what they're showing you. You can select what you want to watch. I get it. But it's basically new cable. And you're buying premium channels. And those premium channels are called Netflix and Max and Peacock and whatever, right? So because it's so expensive, entertainment needs to be entertaining. And if it's, and I think the audience is responding to the last decade of entertainment not being entertaining. Instead, it's being some kind of like lesson that the audience needs to learn or whatever. I think people are responding, and I think Hollywood is having to respond to that response by, changing course.
It's called,
and it also helps that I know they're not getting a whole lot of DEI money anymore. Like whatever's going on with that, and the ESG scores and whatever, who knows? I mean, in 50 years, we're probably a lot of information is going to come out that we're all going to be not shocked about, but I think the public will. And I think there was a lot of money going around for these like initiatives that is no longer there. So now they have to rely on us, which means they have to actually produce something we want to watch. What people want to watch, that advertisers want to pay for that spot, that kind of stuff. And I think it's going to happen.
Dutch, one of the things that strikes me is that, half your audience is men, right? Like 50% of the audience out there is men, and women enjoy masculinity as well. They think it's sexy or like, whatever the case may be. So like, it's not like all women hate masculine stuff. It's like, they'll sit there and they'll watch, they'll complain about Fat Thor when he shows up. He's all out of shape and doesn't look.
They'll secretly really dig Fat Thor because
secretly,
bellies are sexy. Big bellies are sexy, guys. So,
but if we look back into the heyday of the '80s, where 80s cinema, where it was basically like buff dudes kicking ass, explosions, hot chicks, all that stuff.
Well,
everyone who lived through that time seems to look back at it and be like, that was like peak cinema.
Yeah. And
it's like, and it feels like Hollywood has gotten so far away from that because it's gotten feminized. It's gotten like, taken over by, third grade feminists or like whatever the case may be. So what do you think is the path back to success for Hollywood if they were to embrace the masculine?
First off, I'm going to say Reacher would not be nearly as successful if Reacher was being played by a shrimpy little, skinny dude. People want to see their superheroes big, buff, and superheroic. And, I feel like the last 10 years, 12 years, whatever, there's been this real weird movement in entertainment. And it's not just in Hollywood. I call it the wussification of culture almost. And it's in our TV, it's in our movies, it's even in our sports. You get, I like my sports, but I was just watching, I got the hockey game, the Golden Knights game's on here next to me over here. And I just watched a hockey fight between Keegan Colasar and, on the Knights and some other guy from Buffalo, but it was awesome. They're out there, they're just beating the crap out of each other and the crowd's going crazy, smashing on the thing, and my heart rate's going up a little bit. I'm going, yeah, kick his ass, in my brain. You guys probably saw me doing this thing. And it was awesome. And it was a very perfect timing because it's kind of a masculine thing that people want to see. People watch hockey because they want to see hockey fights. They want to see people getting smashed up against the boards. They want to see masculine things. They watch sports for these kind of things. There's a reason the NBA is in its lowest ratings time ever in the existence of the league, is because you got these players who are a bunch of pussies out there who are worried about load management and they don't want to play because they got a sprained pinky and they can't shoot just right. That's just not how things were when I was brought up. You played through your little injuries. You weren't a wussy. You didn't worry about things to this made up load management bullshit. And we liked our entertainment the same way. We liked our Rambo movies with our buff dudes and machine guns. We liked ours. That's why Schwarzenegger movies are so popular, is because he was a buff manly man doing buff manly man shit, and it was awesome to see. And it's Van Damme, same kind of movie, same kind of thing. that was peak cinema back then. That was what we all liked. And it's the same way in video games. There's a reason that, games like Call of Duty and PUBG and all these things are fun, because you're out there doing manly things with guns. You're going against other people and shooting them and killing your things, and it's just, that sounds terrible, but it's fun. That's what people like to do.
Yes.
And this is what men, it's a manly thing. That's why video games are 90% played by men. And I know there are women gamers, don't jump my shit for that. But if you go to our Discord and you look at the percentage of gamers of men versus women, there's about 4 women in the gaming side of things and about 600 dudes. And I think that's probably about accurate, because the whole industry wide, regardless of the thoughts and hot tub streamers that there are on Twitch and Kick and all that kind of stuff. Those are bullshit.
But it's the same with science fiction.
Fiction. People like manly things. They like to see their superheroes look like superheroes. And even the women superheroes need to look like hot ass Playboy model woman.
I don't know about
superheroes,
But they need to look feminine. Don't take it away from
feminine. Them. I don't need no lesbian looking flat chested chick out there in suits, with the
there's be no confusion as to what I'm looking at.
Not at all. So yeah, I think you're right. And I think society, we're entering a new phase. I think the wokeism is starting to phase out. It's going across our whole government, society, entertainment, everything. I think we're entering a new phase to where we're taking our masculinity and back, and we're trying to de-wokeify shit. And I like it. I like where we're going, and bring it on. Let's go.
I do too, brother.
So yeah,
Odin, you deal with America's youths a lot because of your profession, and how important do you think it is for
he's a Catholic priest,
for kids to have like some type of like masculine role model or stuff that is inherently masculine for them to kind of like, either learn from or latch on to and try to emulate and stuff like that?
It's incredibly important, especially in the world that we live in today. This comes up a lot because I teach in the theology that I teach, we cover morality in the first semester. And so typically one of the discussions that we have is about marriage and about the state of marriage and about divorce. And the fact is that, over half of all marriages, right, statistics say and point to end in divorce, but we oftentimes don't think about the effects that can often have on people. And it's something that I've always seen a lot is the kids that are in those split homes, especially when they're having to travel to mom's for the weekend, to dad's for the weekend. Oh, I didn't have this work because I left it at my mom's house or I left it at my dad's house. It leads to a lot of stress for them. And I think one of the other issues that it can lead to is that it disrupts having, especially for the guys, right? It disrupts having that constant male figure in their life. And so it's something that they either, because of the world we live in, where you can escape into this digital world of your phone and Instagram and TikTok and all those other things, a lot of them kind of escape into that world, or they escape into the world of video games, right? And these are things that we can even associate with too, right? Where it's like when we were growing up, those were some of the same things, especially with video games. We might escape into, people would escape into books, people would escape into like different things, right? That's always been a part of how we cope as human beings. But I definitely do think that in the modern world, especially with more traditional masculinity always being attacked or always being looked down upon in some way, to the point where major corporations are putting it into their commercials and are talking about it. I think that has had also a profound impact as well. And so yeah, there's a desperate need for more masculine ideals and masculine examples in people's lives. And I think that one of the most masculine things that we can do is be present in especially in our kids' lives, and in whatever way that has to happen. And I think it's a big part of what is impacting our culture right now, I think.
Tom, I think one of the biggest criticisms anyone has for Hollywood right now is the fact that they have gone out of their way to turn beloved men's franchises and brands into girl brands, where it's basically like you have Star Wars, where it's like, okay, we're going to take it away from Luke and hand it over to Rey. You got Star Trek, you got Doctor Who, you got all this stuff, which basically moving as far away from masculine and the hero's journey and all this stuff as possible. And it's done irreparable damage to those franchises. Why do you think Hollywood is so resistant to making masculine fair?
I wish I knew the answer to that other than woke politics and other bullshit. I mean, there's been this drive to demasculize men for a long time, make them, you know, even when we were growing up, there was this whole men need to show their feelings business, which, look, I'm not saying in certain settings men don't, but at the same time, we have sacrificed the core of what built America, right? And not only that, it built the world, really. And I can't believe that they have actively turned away from their audience. Like, that's the thing that's really strange to me. It's like they're trying to teach us a lesson,
Right.
but all it's doing is forcing us to just reject them even harder. And most men are just sick and fucking tired of being the butt, especially white men. No offense, Smitty. Of being the butt.
Is Smitty not a white man?
I thought he was a white
It's okay.
I
I'm
hate
not
to-
white. It's okay.
I hate to break it to you, Brian. But
I want to say I
Brian's
let
really
Tom.
racist, just warning.
Tom, I let my
I'm not
emotions out.
racist. I'm sexist.
I let my
Big
emotions
difference.
out once a year, every year, when I watch The Wrath of Khan.
Or
I
football.
Wrath of Khan. I have to. No, I cry at the end every year, every time I watch it. You know, so
Women just don't understand how men emote. See, that's the thing.
Right. Right.
because
So
we're,
true.
we're from Mars, they're from Venus. So
Exactly. We notice
yeah.
things that our friends do. We just don't say it and point it out like a bunch of queerdos, right? Like,
weirdos.
we're not going to sit there and gush over them.
That's a great word, queerdo. I love.
No, you
that
got a good
word.
point because there's movies and TV shows where I'm just like,
Don't let it. Don't do it. Don't
cry.
do it. Don't do it. Or you'll be like me at the end of Top Gun Maverick.
especially when it involves like fathers or like, you know, friends and brothers sacrifice, you know, the hero sacrifice
Yeah.
always gets me every time, dude.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I don't
and
think
mean,
it's-
it's just. Oh, go ahead, Smith.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you finish.
Go ahead. Everybody.
I
go
didn't.
ahead.
I don't think it's meant to be that way. I think someone did something, and then they saw how much traction they got with it, so they were like, "Oh, I'm going to copy that. I'm going to do that same thing, and I'm going to start making money." And then, like, one after the other, those dominoes started falling, and everybody wanted to have the new thing that was just like that. I'm more about women than you are. Watch me do this, right? But I think shows like Reacher are kind of pointing the arrow in the other direction. They're saying, look, we don't have any more of this because you've done all of this. So, and I think people are starting to take notice, and they're like, all right, well, maybe we should do more of that. And I think you'll start to see more of that down the road.
And you got a good point, man. My brother always says, like, people think Hollywood moves really quickly, but in reality, the decisions they're making sometimes take years to be reflected to the audience.
Tom, do you want to finish your thought? No? Thoughts all done?
No, what else can I say? I mean, it's obvious we've been watching it for years. I mean, I'm glad Mackie's coming out and saying something, but like I said in the opening, like, he's one of the people that are adding to the problem, right? It's great that you noticed it. Now do something about it, right? You're Captain fucking America last time I checked, right?
Right.
So do something about it. Make a better movie. Demand better out of it.
Right.
You
Do
know, like,
better.
do better, as they say.
Yeah.
Like, make
That's what
more
Cavill
manly
does.
films.
But look what
Like, if you-
people hate Cavill because he demands better.
I mean, if you're Anthony Mackie, he's been in the business for about 20 years now. You can't tell me he couldn't get a bunch of money from a bunch of different places and put together some action film. I don't see how that could be a problem for him.
Mhm.
Well, he tried that, and it was terrible.
Well, he couldn't get a loan.
No,
What movie are you talking about?
Yeah, what movie are you talking about, Smitty? I didn't even know he did that.
alien movie he just came out with, where they had to be above elevation. I think.
Oh
it
no,
was.
yeah.
He
So
had
that was
something- I don't
Netflix
even know
though,
what that is.
right? That was Netflix. That wasn't his
I
movie,
saw that.
right?
I saw that in the movies. I don't. Maybe it's on.
Yeah,
Netflix.
I watched it
don't know.
on Netflix. It's actually not. It's actually the premise is stupid. He did good in the movie though, and he's good in Twisted Metal. He's not a bad actor. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
I think Anthony Mackie is actually a pretty good actor. I love Twisted Metal. I like him as the Falcon. I generally like his acting. I liked him in Altered Carbon, even though I probably shouldn't have, because the first season was way better.
So good.
But
Well,
he's a good actor. He just
look at somebody like Jason Statham. You'll never see him in anything gayer than Spy or Expendables 4, right? Like that's just he's never going to make that kind of a movie.
Yeah. It's Expendables
And
4.
he's got the market cornered right now as far as like he's the closest thing we have to a Stallone or Schwarzenegger. And I know he's not huge in the US, but you look at his worldwide box office. There's a reason why they're making Meg 3.
I mean, the guy
First he was the transporter.
giant
Then he was
shark
expendable.
with samurai swords, right? Yeah.
Then he was the beekeeper, and now he's a working man.
Yeah. Isn't he also
There needs to be a
bricklayer?
Jason Statham like universe at this point.
Oh, he's laying something.
I haven't seen
I'm a
Beekeeper yet.
beekeeper.
Is that worth watching? Is Beekeeper worth watching?
It's
not bad.
so
Beekeeper's
much better
awesome.
than what you would think it would be.
Yeah,
it's not a good
it's
movie.
It's
yes,
just
it's
straight
way better than you
revenge-o-matic
think it
fun.
is. Right.
Yeah.
It's just
basically,
fun.
yeah, like kind of like a John Wicky kind of movie, but
They tried to like do that like subtle lore building like they did with John Wick and have like the beekeepers and like and you know what's funny? No one cared. They just want to see Jason Statham beat the crap out of people for an hour. That's really what it is.
Well, what's even better is this one scene, and I don't want to give anything away from the movie, but there's this one scene where he has to go up against his DEI replacement.
Oh yeah, that's true. He does.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you what happens, but yeah, it's a great scene.
It doesn't go well for her.
I'm trying to think of other modern day action heroes, and there's really not. I mean, I guess like Frank Grillo comes to mind. He's made a few pretty decent movies, right? What was that one we reviewed where had like the best death scene in the world?
Yeah, but Grillo isn't actually like, I wouldn't call him a star. He can't really open a movie.
Right.
I don't
But
think.
I don't know. I'm just, there's the Wick movies, and I mean, I feel like there's the actors out there that we could be making these really cool action movies. Like the guy from Reacher, for example, would be a great Schwarzenegger type of kind of guy. We got Hemsworth. He could make more action movies, but I don't know. It just feels like these action movies that they are making these days are kind of missing something. Maybe they need more testosterone or something.
90% of the action movies star women nowadays.
That's
And
true.
It's just like, like John Woo remade his masterpiece, The Killer, and it was a black female in the main role instead of Chow Yun Fat. It boggles my mind about.
Yeah,
all
stop
this
trying
stuff.
to push the 80-pound girls kicking like 500-pound men around. It doesn't work.
Those women need to learn their role. And get out.
Well,
of
that's
the
why
action
I'm
movie.
looking forward to the John Wick.
I did not say that. That was
The John Wick spinoff Ballerina, because
Ballerina.
in the trailer it actually is like, oh, she's actually doing what a woman of her size would need to do in order to equalize and to actually fight somebody, right? It's not like I'm going toe to toe like power for power. It's like, no, I'm gonna use the person's weight running at me against them, right? It's like, okay, well that makes
But
more
also,
sense.
Odin,
And the weapons
she's hot.
too.
She's so pretty. Oh my god, I was gonna say the same thing.
Here, guys.
Also, Odin,
Listen.
she is stunningly gorgeous.
Here it is. Coming soon to a theater near you.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Sandwich Maker. Let's go. Starring
The sandwich
Brie Larson.
maker too. This time it's grilled.
The dishwasher, yeah.
If they made that movie,
And
but it was
Armis
like-
though, like you can have her like reading the phone book, and if it's shot well, I'm probably gonna watch.
I would just
She's
like to say to my wife who was
so
watching,
pretty.
I don't agree with everything they're saying. Y'all gonna get me fucked up.
Man,
Hey, I'm
thank God my wife doesn't support me and watch this show.
It's moments
Right,
like
right.
these where I shake my head and put my hands.
Hey,
together. I'm
will
like,
will
good Lord,
Smitty
people.
Snippets' wife in the chat? Will you please go give your husband his balls back really quick?
Look, it's okay to say a woman is beautiful. It's
Yeah.
not like you're being obscene.
Yes,
it
yes,
wasn't
beautiful,
that, it
but
was
it's like,
the-
oh, she's so hot. Oh yeah.
I just said she's absolutely stunningly gorgeous.
she could read me the phone book, and I'd be like, oh.
I didn't
Hey,
say
no
who.
That's-
I grabbed my junk, but no one can see that.
You guys know what else is gorgeous? Our
Super chats. Yeah.
Samuel Schwager gifted one Saltiner podcast membership. Thank you, Samuel. And of course, we have Major Chai Chai, who's been a member for 14 months. Thank you so much, Major Chai Chai.
Poor
All right, guys,
Matt's
so-
like, I'm too
Real
sick of this shit,
quick
guys,
before you
stop
get
it.
going. All of any movie needs is buff dudes, machine guns, and hot Russian hookers. That's all.
Woo!
Action
Reach.
So let's go.
You just gave them the formula on how to save cinema, Mr. Butter.
I know. I'm
You know
aware.
what? But do you guys know what needs saving more than anything else right now is Daredevil, because apparently it is not doing well in the ratings. So we have this article from Forbes, which kind of breaks down Daredevil's viewership numbers here. And it's kind of interesting because this is all based off of what Disney Plus has released. So we have at the top of the ladder Percy Jackson and the Olympians, who had 13.3 million views in 6 days. And by the way, this is total watch time divided by the length of the episode. That's how they're coming up with these numbers. So at least they're kind of consistent with that. Now, The Acolyte, which got basically canceled for season 2 for poor ratings, had 11.1 million views in 5 days.
That's our fault, though. That's our fault.
Ahsoka had 14 million views in 5 days.
Again, our fault.
Agatha All Along, right? 9.3 million views in 7 days.
That's Gary and Brett DeSovic's fault.
Yeah. That's it.
Now, what basically Disney Plus has revealed is that Daredevil Born Again has drawn 7.5 million viewers for its first episode out for the double episode premiere. So they're not counting the second episode. It's just the first episode that has gotten 7.5 million views in its first 5 days. Now, what's interesting about this is that Daredevil Born Again, so first of all, it was meant to be a completely different show, right? It was going to be a 21 episode show. And then during the actors' strike, Kevin Feige took a look at it and was like, this is shit. You need to get back to the Netflix style of Daredevil. So they brought in a whole new team. And now I think it's like an 8-episode season or something like that. And they're having to reuse some of the stuff that the previous showrunner shot. So it's kind of like a Frankenstein's series for Daredevil.
Mm-hmm.
Much darker, much more adult show than what we have been getting from Disney Plus. And personally, I think the show's been pretty good so far. I mean, there are a few things that you could complain about if you really wanted to, but it feels like a good successor to the third season of Daredevil from Netflix. So I'm a little bit surprised about like how little the viewership has been on it. However, as Smitty has said on his channel, has been unplussed. He unsubscribed from Disney Plus. Dutch Butters unplussed live on the show a couple times. So like I feel like a lot of people have been unplussed from Disney Plus, in the sense that so many people are just fed up with the crap that's been being put on there that they have basically cut it out of their viewing habits. So there's probably less people watching, and the people who are watching have it for the family content. So they're not interested in this like dark and gritty superhero tale. But also, I feel like Disney Plus has disappointed so much that people just tuned out. Like, I don't feel like there was any marketing for this show whatsoever. Nobody knew when it was premiering, so like they probably didn't even know that it was out, which could explain like the low viewership numbers. But I want to throw this to Odin. Odin, what is the real reason behind these like really low Daredevil numbers, and should it concern fans of the series?
I mean, it kind of just shows you what has happened to the franchise since it left Netflix. Because I actually talked about this a little on FNT last night about trying to look back at the numbers, because back when the first show, right, when the original Daredevil show came out back in 2015, this was a time when Netflix was really the only major name in the game, if not the only name in the game when it came to like major streaming platforms. And so the information that it was available then is even less than it is now, like, which is kind of surprising because there's like nothing available now when it comes to information about these numbers. But there was some research that was done, and what was interesting to me is that within about the first 11 days of the release of that series, because I think that, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, the entire series was dumped at the same time, like for that binge model, because that was especially like Netflix was known for the binge model, especially at that time.
Yeah, all 13 episodes.
Yeah, exactly. And so they said that roughly 10.7% of the entire user base, which at that time was only 40 million, it's up to 300 million now. But 10.7% of the entire subscriber base had watched at least one of the episodes of the show within the first 11 days. And 2.3% had watched the first episode, or sorry, 2.3% of the entire user base had tuned in on the first day of the release itself. If you compare that to what is currently going on in the series, you look at the 7 million users or 7 million views metric, and that turns out to be about 2.5% of the 300 million that is currently available. And so the fact that that's over a full week, right, and the fact that you think about where that first show started, and again, it built up from there, right? Those were relatively lower numbers because people were interested and intrigued by it, but it was when people started to say, you need to watch this show, you need to binge this show, that it started to actually build and build and build and build. So the fact that the show now is not even getting really anywhere close to where even just the first initial run of the show was when it first came out, before any of the hype really started to build up again within the first 11 days of that first season, it shows you how far off the current season is. And I think that basically what's happened is that the damage that was done with these shows like She-Hulk, where you had these storylines, brought in with Matt Murdock being brought in, the Walk of Shame. You think about Echo and the connections there with Fisk, and all of these things tied in. I think it soured people to say, okay, no, this is not the Netflix one that I liked. This is the Disney version, and the Disney version I don't like so far. I think a lot of people were like, let me wait and see. I'm going to hold out. I'm going to hold back and see what people are saying about the show before actually giving it a shot. And I think a huge issue with this is, if you've seen the first episode especially, everything that was really in the promotional materials that seemed to indicate, oh, this is going to be a return to form. Remember that amazing dynamic that you love so much with the Netflix series? It's like, okay, done within the first 10 minutes. And I think that probably has also kept people from really going back to it, because they're like, okay, so you said and preparing, look, remember Netflix? Remember how great it was? I remember. And then they're like, okay, they're giving us a good show. Like I've actually really enjoyed it so far too. But I hated the first, I didn't want to keep watching after the first 10 minutes because it was a bait and switch to me, because it was like, oh, the whole promotional was about, hey, remember that amazing dynamic? Well, now we're just not going to have that at all. These characters that you loved are gone for the rest of the series, or at least perceivably for the rest of the series. I'm sure they'll come back, here and there or whatever. Again, they've already made the announcements of season 2 and who's coming back for season 2, which makes you scratch your head. But it's just so frustrating. And I think that a lot of people who have not seen it yet are kind of like I don't know if I want to see this because of everything that has happened so far. And there's not a whole lot going on to bring them back into actually want to watch the Disney Plus series.
Yeah, and Tom, one of the interesting things about these comparisons is that if you look at like Percy Jackson, The Acolyte, Ahsoka, Agatha All Along, even Loki, these were all half-hour episodes. So the way that they're calculating these minutes viewed, it might be a little bit skewed, because Daredevil was like, I want to say like 50 minutes for like its premiere like episode. So I'm wondering if this is like an apples to oranges comparison, but also the fact that basically they have renewed Daredevil for a season 2 already. And this season seems to be kind of like a hodgepodge of like trying to take what was already shot and fit it in with like stuff that they want to do and set up for season 2. Seems like a strange way to like do this show. I feel like they probably should have just like started from scratch all over again. What's your take on this comparison with the low numbers that we're seeing from Daredevil?
Well, I mean, was that a question?
Yeah.
Like you go.
Yeah.
How do you know how to answer that?
Land the backflip. Tom, land the backflip. You can do it.
You ever see Family Circle? You know those cartoons, the little comic strips? You know where they show where the kids, instead of just taking a straight line from one point to another, they go through everybody else's yard, through a dozen dog houses and all kinds of other shit. That's how Matt asks questions.
Tom, I'm going to ask you the same question Matt just did, okay? And then I'll let you take it. So, Tom, tell us your thoughts on the new season of Daredevil.
How hard was that, Matt?
Look, Matt does a lot of research so that we don't have to talk as much.
Exactly.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I do
No,
too. You know.
I mean, I as far as the ratings go, I know some people are making a big deal about the ratings. Like, look, I went and looked. It's actually twice as good as what it did on Netflix, actually, from what numbers I could find. And then the show had a 57% drop after the second season, which is also when The Defenders came out. You also have a show that come out 7 years since the last time we've had a season. And not only that, this show has been shot and reshot how many times now? Since 2020, because like I guess some of the cast members are even dead.
Yeah, season 3 was October 2018.
I guess the guy who plays the white tiger guy or whatever, I guess he's dead in real life, and he's been dead for like a year and a half.
He passed away after the shooting was
2023.
Yeah, so anyhow, like this show is okay, I guess, from what I've seen so far, but I'm not really worried about the ratings. The ratings are on par with every other Marvel show. It's Daredevil, it's not Spider-Man. And Loki is Loki. See, that's the thing, is everybody's like, oh, well, Loki did this well. Loki is the exception. Look at the rest of the numbers compared to Loki. That's because Loki was played by Tom Hiddleston. You had a show called Loki with Loki actually in the show. See, that is a plus. And women actually like Tom Hiddleston. So, that, of course, that show's going to do well.
So do men.
Well, some do, like you. But, I mean, at this point, I think the show's doing fine. From what I heard, though, which is strange, these first 3 episodes are most of the stuff from the earlier shoots. Post this is when we're going to start seeing more of the newer stuff.
So the first episode was all new.
Yeah, like some of this other stuff though, I guess was mostly from the older shoot, was what I had heard. But from here on out, it's going to be mostly new.
Well, what's interesting, Smitty, is that the way that Disney is releasing these episodes, so like because Andor is set to premiere in April, right? They're trying to get all these episodes out before Andor, which means that they're going to be releasing some episodes, 2 episodes a week as opposed to the single week release. Seems like bad planning to me, because it's like, well, if you know that this is premiering, then maybe you should have like released this a little bit earlier. But what's also funny is that they say that this, in the typical variety spin that Odin called out a little bit later, earlier on in the show, they say that this is the best premiere of the year for a Disney Plus original. We are 2.5 months into the new year, and this is the first Disney Plus show to premiere in 2025. So that's not really saying much. But
best of the year, best series premiere ever.
Yeah.
Remember they did that last year with their shows too. They were like, "Oh, that's the best of the year."
Yes, exactly. But compared to The Acolyte, it seems like this is doing far worse than that show, and that show got canceled. But it was also a lot more expensive than Daredevil seems to be. And I know that you've reviewed the first 2 episodes on your channel, Smitty. So what's your take on Disney's strategy here with Daredevil Born Again?
I don't know. I think the show's amazing. I don't get how it could be less viewed than The Acolyte, because that oh my god, that is absolutely dreadful.
I keep telling people it's our fault.
The only thing I can fathom is that it's on Disney, and people went back for The Acolyte, then they got tricked. Then they went back for She-Hulk, and they were like, "You got me again." And then they went back. They just kept going back to all these shows, and they were like, "That's it. I'm done. I'm done. You're not getting me anymore."
You're
I feel like if this was on Netflix, it would be doing a lot better. But I don't understand why this isn't getting more views at all. I've watched both episodes, and it's incredible. The acting by the gentleman who plays Wilson Fisk is awesome, and it looks like it's heading in a direction. Plus, they teased Punisher and Spider-Man. I don't think Spider-Man's going to be in this, but they've teased him anyway. So, I mean, there's a lot to look forward to. And just in the first couple episodes, I can't tell that they pulled some stuff from the older show. But, I mean, to me, I loved it. I mean, what do you think, Matt? Did you like it?
I'm really enjoying the show so far. But I kind of wish they just release it all and let me watch it at my own pace instead of doing this like weird, funky release schedule that isn't very consistent to begin with.
You don't like week to week, do you? At all?
I don't. But Dutch, you seem to like week to week. So what's your take on these terrible ratings for Daredevil?
Well, I think you got to like the article said, you have to like kind of take into account that it's an adult themed show. It's on Disney Plus. That's not really what Disney Plus's audience is. Disney Plus is for nerds and for kids to be entertained. And this is kind of I feel like Daredevil was kind of a not really a fringe, but not really a mainstream thing. But it was good when it was on Netflix. But I'm not sure if Disney Plus has the right kind of audience to cater to this kind of a show, maybe. And also, like you guys have all said, I mean, season 3 of Daredevil on Netflix came out 2018. I mean, that's a lifetime in these entertainment cycles. That's a whole new generation of viewers that are watching these shows, and they're not familiar with the Daredevil stuff. So it's just, especially on Disney Plus. And then there's also, the people like me, like Smitty just said, I've been burned too many times by Disney Plus. I'm not resubscribing for this. So, I'm not saying I'm never going to resubscribe again. There might come a time when, I might resubscribe for Andor, but that's only going to be, they're only going to trick me again. That's what's going to happen. But Daredevil doesn't intrigue me enough to want to resubscribe. So I'm just not that interested in it. So it might be good, but I'm not going to watch it. It's not good enough for me to give them that $2.99 for the 4-month trial. $2.99. That's $2.99 a month right now. They are begging for new people to come on air and get that service, man. Never seen nothing like $2.99 a month.
Too many people are being unplussed.
It's crazy.
Brian, one of the things that struck me about Daredevil is that they kind of made references to She-Hulk, Echo, and Hawkeye, these other shows. They didn't put too much attention on them, but they did at least acknowledge that they existed. So to bring back these like 3 pretty bad shows, I didn't think Hawkeye was all that bad, but for the most part, like these shows like weren't all that great and audiences didn't really respond to them. Do you think that could have something to do with why people aren't really resonating with the new Daredevil?
No, I don't think it's the references. I do think that it being on Disney Plus and people are not in a rush to go watch it doesn't mean that it won't do well over time. I haven't seen it, but I plan to. To be honest, though, I'm just going to wait until they're all there. And I think a lot of people have that same sort of mentality. The way I watched the original Daredevil was all at once. And so I don't really want to do the week-to-week thing. So my plan is to wait for it to be done and then go watch it all. And sometimes there's shows like Reacher and stuff where I'm totally down to wait a week. Cool. But this particular show, especially the Marvel stuff, if I'm not reviewing him or talking about him online for like this, then I will just wait for it. And had we not been talking about She-Hulk, I would have probably watched She-Hulk all at once. But it was impossible to avoid spoilers. So, and we were reviewing it, so I did. And I didn't mind She-Hulk as much as everyone else did. The last
She-Hulk stuff
were garbage,
didn't happen, right? It's completely being ignored for this show.
No, it happened.
It happened. Yeah. That's what he's saying. It happened. As far as the other shows and how good they are or whatever, I don't think that really has any bearing on it. I don't think a lot of people watch, like we watch everything, but not everyone watches everything. There's plenty of people that just sort of watch what they like. And they don't really care for Echo or what was the other one you said? Because I didn't watch that. Hawkeye,
Yeah, Hawkeye, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't watch Hawkeye. I didn't even know there was a Hawkeye, to be honest.
Didn't miss anything.
No.
Right. And I don't think I did. And I don't feel, I watch a lot of stuff, but I've never looked at like, I really want to watch this teenage girl fight crime. Yeah, I'm cool.
What is there anything having to do with like Luke Cage and Jessica Jones and all that stuff? The other
there's
shows
talk
that
about bringing Jessica Jones back. So far, Luke Cage
I like Jessica Jones
and Iron Fist are still kind of like in limbo.
Hated Iron Fist. Jeez.
Please no.
But Brian,
back.
you know what was interesting is you said like I'm going to wait until all the episodes are out so I can binge them, and that's usually my way of doing things.
Right.
I think the biggest issue with the low ratings for Daredevil, honestly, is that I don't think anyone knows that it's out yet. There's, people who have Disney Plus that maybe like saw like the banner on there when they logged in, or people who pay attention to this stuff, like, they realized that it was being released. But, my wife, like I told her the other day, I was like, oh yeah, I watched Daredevil. And she's like, you watched it without me? And I'm like, well, I didn't think you were interested. And she's like, I didn't even know it was out. So, so like a lot of people, I don't think even know that it's been released yet.
Yeah, I mean, the poor marketing too. Same thing happened to Severance. Like, I didn't even know Severance was like good until like the second season came out. So a lot of these streaming services are really bad at marketing,
especially Apple.
Yeah,
Apple's really bad at. Yeah.
Apple's terrible at marketing, and so Severance is like its most watched show. In fact, they're bringing back Ted Lasso. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
First off, that's awesome. Secondly, no, I didn't hear about that. I didn't even know there was a new Mythic Quest until I logged on to watch Severance.
I know, right? And Apple's got some of the best original series out there, in my opinion. But before we move on, Odin, one of the big controversies about the new Daredevil show seems to be that they're pulling back on a lot of the Catholic imagery and like his Daredevil's faith as like a Catholic and stuff like that. I want to get your take on that before we move on.
I mean, not knowing enough about the Daredevil character, like I never read the comics, and my knowledge of him is very limited to like the 2003 movie and then this series. I honestly don't know exactly how Catholic and how heavy the Catholic themes were in the comics to know as a frame of reference, because there's definitely like aspects of it kind of hinted at certain points. Like he mentions a part of his like education, but it's like usually just brief one-liners versus anything else. So it's hard for me to really say one way or the other if they've actually been pulling back. It seems about the same as what had previously been there, though.
Okay, interesting. Real quick, guys, we got Def Row, a member for 25 months. That's over 2 years, guys. Daredevil has that She-Hulk stank on it. Yes, it's indeed. True. And we also have Kalikioki for $2. Being mid isn't enough to get people to watch anymore. Yes, there's just too many options out there. Too many options for that stuff. So, guys, before we head out of here, there's one more story I want to hit on. We'll just do it as kind of like a lightning round group discussion type thing. But there was this article that came out over on Puck News, which is the place that broke the story that Kathleen Kennedy was retiring. And they're talking about how Warner Brothers is basically in turmoil. They've had a string of flops, and they are looking to Superman to be the thing that really saves them. And this was kind of like an interesting breakdown on Dark Horizons, where they basically say that David Zaslav has been slashing costs all over, but at Warner Brothers Studios, co-chiefs Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdi had been taking big gambles on auteur-driven features with overly generous budgets. And they talked about how Joker underperformed massively. It looks like Mickey 17 is going to underperform massively. The upcoming Ryan Coogler period vampire tale centers.
I don't see them talking anything about Dune 2, Godzilla vs. Kong, Beetlejuice, Wonka.
Well,
this is just more doom and gloom crap coming from all the biased people in Hollywood, just like always. Because you know what really sucked is when McDonald's closed after the McLean failed.
Well, what they are saying is that if Superman doesn't do well, there's a big fear that that Time Warner might sell off Warner Brothers Studios to a different, company or
over
like
DC. Okay, let me say what I said again. They left out Dune, Beetlejuice, Wonka, Godzilla vs. Kong. I could come up with a few more here. If you want.
Isn't Jurassic Park one of theirs?
No, that's Universal. Twisters, they did with Universal. Again, more doom and gloom coming from people who want Zaslav to fail. That's all they want.
People really want him to fail.
Is not going to kill the company. They're not going to sell off the company. Dude. You know what was going to happen if Superman fails? They're going to stop making superhero movies. That's what's going to happen. And they're going to stop making $200 million ones. And here's the other thing I keep hearing is that Pam Abdi and Mike DeLuca are probably on their way out the door. And they're the only thing keeping Matt Reeves' Batman 2 on the fucking docket right now. That's why he's pissed. Because Joker 2 should have made $1 billion+. And it didn't. That's all it is. Zaslav's like just saying like this better fucking perform or we're done. We're not doing this shit anymore. Kind of like Tom Rothman said over at Sony. He's like, oh, these Spider-Verse movies, we're done. No thanks, no more, because you guys keep spending money on them and we can't make anything on them. The only thing that's making any money is what Marvel's doing with Spider-Man.
Ryan,
So
what's your
that's where
take
they're
on
at.
this?
That's my take on it. I think it's
I
just a bunch of
agree with
doom and
Tom.
gloom bullshit.
There's a lot of doomers out there that hate Zaslav. You know what's really weird is a lot of these. Look, I like the Snyder films. Just to be clear, before I get attacked by all the weird Snyder people,
Snyder cultist.
I like the Snyder films, but I'm not in this weird so attached thing where I'm like, anyone else that touches this property I hate and I want to kill their family. And they hate Snyder. I'm sorry, they hate James Gunn and Zaslav so much. It is incredible how much they want Zaslav to fail, how much they want Superman to fail and DC to fail. It's crazy. I see nothing but X posts and videos from these people that I used to like look up to, just going ham about, oh, they stock dropped another $1. Here we go. It's the end. It's the end. Big old clickbait. It's the end for DC. It's the end for Warner Bros. You guys need to chill the hell out. The same people that are mad that Zaslav canceled or removed that horrible Batgirl project or Batwoman project, whatever it was called. It's funny. Like the same people that talk about anti-woke are mad that Zaslav took away Batgirl because it was part of that universe or whatever. I don't know. I think Tom's right. A lot of doomers are out there just really rooting for David Zaslav to fail, and by proxy, James Gunn and the new DC to fail.
Odin, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I would say is I don't think anyone's selling any company over anything like that. The one thing I push back on is that the successes that they had at the box office were very much like small potatoes compared to the massive losses. In fact, like just looking at box office, so not any other, possible revenues down the line of VOD sales or Blu-ray 4K sales, etc. Like we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars for their massive, like big box office losers from last year. And then like a couple, like tens of millions of dollars, like for the like net gain profits from the films that did well. The one question mark obviously is the Godzilla, X Kong, because that film on paper didn't make a whole lot, but that's also because we don't know exactly what percentage split they have with China because of the deal with Legendary being partially owned by a Chinese company, which I think that deal is no longer there. I think that has recently ended, but that would not have affected that movie at that time. So again, I think financially it is absolutely, I think, true to say that if the Superman movie doesn't make money or is not a success, that something's going to happen. It's not going to be a studio going away, though. It's going to be, okay, yeah, the whole James Gunn stuff, we're just not going to do that. Like that, no, we're not going forward with that. That's a waste of money. So it does need to do well, but it's not for the future of like that specific company. It's for the future of that project, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, these are the same type of people, the doom and gloomers, are out there going, this man destroyed the Coyote versus Acme movie, yet none of them are out going to see that Looney Tunes movie this weekend. It's like, no, this is what killed it. Nobody has gone to see a Looney Tunes movie since Space Jam 1.
Yeah.
Not the, like,
Not definitely
100%. That's so true.
All right, I want to give Smitty the final say on this one. Smitty, do you think if Superman underperforms, Warner's is in trouble?
I doubt it. I think they're pretty big. I don't think so. I think that them, like everybody else, needs to get their act together. The type of movies that they're putting out are just absolute dumpster fire. Did anyone give a shit about Twisters? Were you thinking at home to yourself, you know what I'd like to see? What's going on with those tornadoes? Maybe we should.
I really enjoyed the movie though.
It did well.
I didn't care about it, but when I watched it, I enjoyed it. I'll be real. I enjoyed the hell of it.
These are just movies that are just like you get that one in that image, right? You're waiting for the tornado to come on screen, waiting for something to happen, right? But there's no story there. Like no one cares. No one cares about you chasing tornadoes. I
still
want
had
to
a good
see a
time.
story with some substance, like old school stories, like Indiana Jones or movies like that. Movies that have
Twister.
substance to it. where
Oh
you-
wait, it's the same movie.
You're not wrong, but it was a fun movie. I'll be real.
Was it?
It was
fun.
It was fun.
That's why they keep
so.
making stuff like this. This is why they out of money right now, because of people
Look,
like you.
I just need things to be entertaining. Look, that's all
But they
I
have to-
need.
But they have to be good. They have to be good and
It was
entertaining.
entertaining.
For you, but not
Right.
not for most people, because it again $155 million spent on that budget and it made 370. So
See?
Also,
See?
Joker.
I get it. I don't
Too.
need everything to be some super interceptive like lesson on humanity.
You're right. You're right.
Sometimes I just need something to explode. Okay.
You're 100%. You're 100% right. I do agree with you on that. But you got to put out more. You know, you got to put out more. And Superman, I hope, does really well. I mean, he's very mainstream. He's probably one of my favorite characters. This is supposed to be very comic accurate, which is why you see all of these characters in these trailers. So, I mean, we'll see how it does. Anyone who's a fan of Superman will probably go watch. It will probably do very well. But, you know, we'll see how far that gets him.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, guys, we got super chat from Darth Maul's lower half for €5. I think people are simply punishing Disney for lack of quality as well as its political agenda. Looking forward to the annual shareholders meeting. Ryan, as the largest shareholder of Disney stock on the panel, are you looking forward to this?
I'm looking forward to it because I'll tell you why. Every time this happens, there's like a bunch of YouTubers that get on the call and they like misinterpret everything that Disney says because they want to get clicks off people that are angry at Disney. And so I want to listen to it just so I can know what's real and what's not. And when you say largest shareholder, you are not wrong.
On the panel.
At this
yeah.
point, I mean, yeah, on this panel. At this point, I have sold almost all other stocks except for Disney because Disney is the one stock that won't even get close to my purchase price, dude. It's so far away from breaking even. It's ridiculous.
Well, that's why we need more super chats like from Shorty Short for $1.99. I got a gifted membership while not on stream. Shrug. Well, hey,
It happens. It happens.
that's how generous we are.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we had a lot to talk about today, and we talked about it. I want to thank my fantastic panel of nerds for being here today. OMB Reviews. Any final thoughts, and where can people find more of you?
yeah, you can find me on OMB Reviews on YouTube, on Rumble, on Twitter/X. You can find me on all the platforms there at OMB Reviews. And it's going to be fun tomorrow doing box office breakdown video and article for Geeks and Gamers on Mickey 17's box office. Let's just say it's right now tracking to be well over $100 million flop by the end of its run. It's just not making much of anything. And then Novocaine, I'll be interested to see what the final total is for that movie because it has some potential maybe to be able to make break even, make a little bit of profit. We'll have to wait and see what those actual numbers are and those internationals are too before officially saying that. But yeah, next week, very much looking forward to talking about Snow White's box office because that thing is going to be a train wreck.
Yes.
Yes.
Have you guys?
All right.
Has Novocaine come out yet?
Yeah.
Oh wow!
It's out this
can't wait to
weekend,
watch
yeah.
that. That's
Crap,
cool.
Ryan, where you been? Come on, man. Pay attention.
Working my
Come on,
butt
man.
off. Yeah.
All right. Tom Connors Jr., any final thoughts, and where can people find the type of cereal you prefer to eat rather than being on the show?
I'm not supposed to eat cereal. Midnight's Edge After Dark. Places.
Don't you like turtles too?
Oh,
I like turtles.
There you go. Wouldn't be a salty Saturday without the I like turtles.
Would not.
All right, guys, our favorite YouTuber, Smitty Snippets. Any final thoughts, and where can people find more of you?
You can find me channel. I do a show with my sister every Friday at 8 p.m. We discuss shows, movies. They're going to be bad and horrible movies from now on, thanks to Matt. Got me back to being my old self. I'm going to try and get back into doing regular movies and shows during the week on my own. So I appreciate you all for hanging out and supporting me. Thank you.
And everyone
you,
out
Smitty.
there, be sure to find Smitty's channel link in the description and in the pinned comment in the chat. Go show him some love. Drop him a subscribe because he does good work when he's not talking about stuff that he likes. anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Stop
Smitty,
talking about things you enjoy. We don't like it.
Gotta get back to embracing the hate, man. All the toxicity.
Embrace the hate.
Embrace it.
We want you to be depressed.
Yeah. Speaking
Like
of
we
embracing
are.
the hate, Brian from the Popcast, any final thoughts and where can people find more of you?
Final thoughts? No. I'm glad Smitty's here. Thank you, Smitty.
Thank you.
You can find me on the Brain Show Popcast. Tonight I'm going to, what's that? I'm forgetting his name right now. Crunchyroll? No. The Asian guy we had on like 3 weeks ago. What's his
Project
name
Egg
again?
Roll.
Yeah, Project Egg Roll. I'm going on his show tonight at 7 o'clock.
All right, cool. Well, be sure to check him out there.
Crunchyroll. My bad, dude. My bad.
Crunchyroll. So racist. Low key racist. Yeah. Indeed.
I do want some sushi right now, though.
Sounds really good.
All right. Dutch Butters, any
Yeah.
final thoughts on what's going on with the gaming channel?
Well, thanks for everybody for being here today. As always, it's awesome. Smitty, it's nice seeing you again. I hope your wife gives you your balls back pretty soon. So it's very important. You're going to need those. On the gaming channel, we're streaming 5 nights a week, Tuesday or Friday night through Tuesday night late. I do that when I get home from work, so it's usually pretty too late for most people. But I got a really good group of people doing that. Weekly podcast, Salt Divers. I do with Salty on Tuesdays. We're going to bring that back this week. We missed last week because of the plague going through the valley here, and we have some other stuff cooking that I'm not going to talk about right yet. But we got some stuff that we're working on. So gaming channel, Salty Nerd Gaming, guys. We're pushing 5,000 subs. Please go over there and support the show and hit the button for us. Would very much appreciate it.
All right. And I want to give a big shout out to everyone who donated super chats throughout the course of the show. John Yulden, Mephisto's Movie Reviews, Kink in the Armor, Hemorrhoid Hurts, Mexican Iron Man, The Shadow Rangers, Kaliki Oki, Darth Maul's Lower Half, and Shorty Short. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. Always appreciate seeing you guys drop super chats in the course of a good show. And I want to thank Tom for pointing out how great I am at asking questions today. That was the highlight of the stream. I hope somebody clips that.
Very good at it.
It needs to be seen. It needs to be seen by everyone at how good I am at my job. Anyway, love you guys. Stay tuned. Next Saturday, same salty time, same salty channel for more Salty Saturday. And until then, stay salty, my friends.